Hi everyone, it's Lori, and in today's episode, I want to give you a couple watchouts regarding the masking tools in Lightroom. I love to use the mask tools and I use them consistently in my editing workflow. But as I've used the new tools, I have discovered some watchouts that I want to share with you today. Let's get started. So I have this image that I shot of these spring plum tree blooms. And what I want to do is add a little pop to the center of this image, these main blooms. So to do that, I want to use our handy mask tools. So right here, we would select mask and we would come over, and I'm going to delete this one that I had played with. All right, so we have a clean profile. So the first thing that we would do is naturally you would think, let's select subject. So I'm going to select subject and Lightroom's going to work its magic. And it has selected the majority of the subject. Now it did get this branch, so we would need to refine that. We could do subtract, and we could just grab our brush and come in and remove this from our mask. So it's pretty quick and easy with the brush. You could have used really any of the tools to do that. And we could refine it over here as well. We don't want those areas bright, so we can just kind of come in and clean this part of the image up. Get some of that removed. Really just want to impact the main area of this image. So now we can come down and make our selective adjustments to this mask area. And the first thing I would do is just bump the exposure a little bit. So I can come down, bump that, and then I could add some saturation, and I could continue to add maybe some clarity or texture if I wanted. But do you see what I see? So our mask unfortunately included some of our background. So if you notice right here in the center, we've got some areas of our background that have been impacted. And I often see this when I'm working with other photographers and reviewing their work, that sometimes they've used the mask and they just didn't catch it. Because maybe, let's go back to our mask. Maybe we just did a little exposure, maybe just a little pop, and we barely notice it. But once you view the image on a large screen or you print it, you're definitely going to notice. So this is a watch out if you're working with an image that has some fine details where the background is coming through. Think about a floral image like this. Think about someone's hair, whether it's a person in the image or maybe a pet. Think about things that have very minute details. You want to make sure your mask is only attached to the area you want changed. So what would we do as an alternative? So let's duplicate this mask. And we could try background to see what that does. So let's select background. And unfortunately, we can see the program just is not picking up the background area in this particular image. So that method is not going to work. So I'm going to delete that mask. So now I'm going to show you two tools that could work to make things easy for you. So first would be the Old Faithful brush mask tool. So we can grab our brush and come over, and I like to use my feather pretty high, and I do like to have auto mask selected. Now what I can do is come in and I can brush where I want this detail to impact, and I can skip over those light sections. So this would be one way to come in and just brush on your mask exactly where you want it. And with Auto Mask, it does a really nice job of not going over the edges. I like to say we're coloring, in the lines. So we could play. So I would continue working with my mask using the brush to impact the image. Now when we increase the exposure, it's only impacting the areas that we've masked, and our background is staying true to the picture. Okay, so that method will work. It's a little time consuming and tedious depending on the type of image you're working with. But let me show you an alternative. So let's delete this mask and let's go back and let's try our objects mask. going to click Objects, and I'm just going to drag the square using my trackpad or your mouse right over the subjects. I like to overlap them just a little bit. I find that it detects them better. All right, so it did a pretty nice job. We've got all of our flowers, but we know that we also have our background. So now what we're going to do is come up here to Mask 1, click these 3 dots, and do Intersect Mask With, and I'm going to use Color Range. So we're going to select Color Range. I'm going to turn off the overlay, and I'm going to select the pink area of this image. Now, if we put the overlay back, we can see that now we have all the pink tones and not these little spots of background. We can use the Refine slider to increase the amount of pink and the amount of our mask. So now we've got it really dialed in, nice and detailed, and we've got everything except this one little flower. Now, if you felt that was important to your image, all you have to do is click Add, and you could use the brush. You could just come in and add that right there if you wanted to. You could also pop in anywhere else that you really wanted, maybe a little bit more of the color. So now that we have our mask completely set, I do see a little bit right here, so I could go Subtract, and I could use the brush, make the brush smaller, and come in and just remove the mask from this branch. So this process had a couple extra steps, but it really worked nice to ensure that we keep the background whole and that we maintain that background, but get all of the pink areas of our image. So now I can come in and make these selective adjustments to the flowers, brightening them, increasing some saturation. So we'll slide that saturation, maybe even adding a little bit of texture to make them pop. And now we have our before and our after. And if you look at these little blue areas, you'll see that they have not changed. So you always have the brush option, which can work great, but also consider using the Intersect Mask With. That really allows you to refine your mask, and it works great when you have a subject like this with some background kind of peeking through. So I hope you found this helpful, and please send me any comments, like, and subscribe. Thanks, everybody.